Okay, I'm going to call this session of the Strategic Planning Subcommittee to order. The committee is present. Sonia Strigels, myself here live, and Johnny Loretti is on via Zoom. So I will call this meeting to order at 9:03. We'll start off with approval of meeting minutes, which is attached to our agenda here tonight. This morning, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to approve the minute meetings from the last time?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
You, Johnny? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries there. Thank you, guys. All right, so move on to the next section is public comment. Debbie, do we have anyone on board for public comment?
No one is on.
No one is on. All right, so moving on from public comments. All right, so we'll get right to the heart of the matter. We're going over the legislation order OFY 25-074, the updated town manager goals. So I sent to both members of the committee just some updated changes from our last meeting and a review with town manager Justin. Nothing actually really major. There's only really two changes based on our last meeting. The first one being under 004 community engagement. I just removed the launching of a new improved community engagement tool, the town manager's corner again, based on the fact that Justin does not have an assistant town manager. To just lock him into creating something like this without the assistance of someone like that might be difficult. He is planning on coming up with his own methods of replying to citizens' concerns and things of that nature, but just doesn't want to be pigeonholed into something along these lines. Again, he is updating the website, so with that new design, I think he's going to potentially come up with something in conjunction with the website to maybe address that. But yeah, that just line, and that was one I had added, so I had no problem with removing it. But everything else in there that we had discussed is the same, including all the dates, the 4 public forums, and engaging with the public. Any questions on that, guys? Okay, nothing? Okay. And then on the last page, on operational efficiency 006, we had discussed at the last meeting conducting an operational review of Bridgewater's organizational structure by 3/31/2026. We had a discussion. He just needed more time potentially to either arrange services possibly with the Collins Center to bring them in possibly to help. So he had requested that we just make that date the end of the fiscal year. So I said, I don't see that being a problem. Obviously he'll get information to us in the budget process, anyway. But if there's any, just give him max amount of time to review, and also to make, changes or have discussions on those changes, giving him the first year to kind of, lay the groundwork of the land for the next fiscal year. But I would think that shouldn't be something that's too out of the realm of possibility, just to extend it for the entire fiscal year. So again, any questions on that one, guys?
No, I think that makes sense. I think that if we really want to give him the full transparent experience of being able to see where we can improve, where we kind of lag, you definitely want to get through the entire budgetary cycle and be able to then decide from that point on what holes there may be or what areas we can improve based on his knowledge base of building a budget.
Yep.
So that gives him until the end of the fiscal year to do that.
I
So,
think that's exactly his
sense.
line of thinking that he was coming from. Johnny, any questions on that one?
Yeah, my my biggest concern here is that I want to put us in the best position possible to move forward for FY 27. And if we don't have something like this prepared before we have to approve the budget in April, then we are now kind of kicking it down to the following year. And I know that we're going to do the best job that we can with the budget, but if we don't have something like this done, then I feel like we're leaving a lot on the table. And I know that we all want to do what's best that we can for not only our town, but especially the schools. The schools have been top of mind for us and at the front of every conversation. And if we don't get something like this done, then I don't know if we're doing all of the work and the diligence that we should be doing on the town side, to potentially identify ways that we can allocate more money to the schools, allocate more money to our services here. In the event that we do have to go for another override, we haven't exhausted all of our options for improvements in efficiencies and processes. So that's my biggest holdup, is that we are not getting that done before the next budget cycle.
I hear what you're saying on that, and I think that was our discussion at the last meeting. The only thing I would say to that is, I think the whole procedure, not only the preparation for the budget cycle, but the actual budget cycle itself is going to allow him to do a complete organizational review, and that's kind of what we're addressing here with operational efficiency, is he's looking at the whole, the whole kit and caboodle, so to speak. And again, that probably also includes the budget cycle in it itself. So I'm sure he's doing his legwork before that budget cycle comes in. And if the funding is there, as we mentioned later in this particular section, if we can secure the Collins Center that can come in and do an independent look at the organizational structure, then he'll certainly look to do that in preparation for that budget cycle. But I think his thinking, and as Sonia was just alluding to, was I think he's just looking at taking this whole fiscal year to look where we're at as far as the organizational structure, looking at the different departments, what can be changed, what can be made more efficient. And I think that just requires more time and more investigating and getting his hands on all the different departments. So I think that's the kind of the goal that we're looking for him to do is, all right, is the organization as efficient as it can be? And it might, just like I said, go through a whole budget cycle even to kind of see if that's the case. So I don't know if it's something that he has to have all those ducks in a row first before he does the budget. I think it's kind of congruent with the budget cycle. So that's kind of the conversation I had with him, is why it's just giving him the whole fiscal year to kind of work on that situation. You see where I'm going with that, Johnny?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll just continue to push back on it. And I respect where Justin's coming from. But if it were up to me, I would make sure that this gets done sooner rather than later. I would talk to the finance department and see where we could pull from one-time use funds to fund something like this. I think I would put this in one of my top priorities, honestly, because I don't know if we can really move forward in the best way possible unless we do something like this. And I would be willing, personally, I can only speak for myself, I would be willing to make the investment, as long as it's a reasonable cost. And the research that I have done is it does seem pretty reasonable. I think that we're going to gain back that investment. So maybe we're not going to see eye to eye on this, and that's totally fine. But it's just my personal views, and I think that this is where we need to go. If the town was in a different financial position, I think if the schools were in a different position, I think that we could certainly afford to take this a little bit slower. But I think that we need to act sooner rather than later on this. I don't know if we could afford the time.
I hear what you're saying. I don't think he's not going to act sooner, or at least, again, we're giving him a lot of hard and fast deadlines. And this might overlap a couple of the other deadlines that we're giving him. So I think, again, it's just, he'll probably have most of this done before the budget season takes place, and it's going to incorporate into the budget season. I just think we're just giving him the entire fiscal year to kind of get this whole package together. And I don't think it's, kicking anything down the line. It's just giving them the maximum amount of flexibility to get this work done within that fiscal year, and not putting just some sort of hard, fast deadline on this particular topic. I mean, if we go back and look at some of the other ones, we do have, some other areas. We've got the balanced budget is the 4.7, 4.1. We've got drinking water situation. So again, we're putting a lot of things in around that time frame. So again, maybe agree to disagree. I just think we just, as far as, I do feel he's going to get the operational review done, and he's going to bring an outside source if, like you say, the finances are there, and if he wants to follow your lead on that and pull from some one-time funds to do it. Again, that's within his choice and purview to do. I'm just thinking time frame of doing this whole organizational review, just be, giving him the entire fiscal year. I don't see being, out of the ordinary or anything. That's, a couple months more from the date that we originally gave him of 3/31. But again, and I'll go back to Sonia if you have any more comments on that particular one.
I think the only area that gives me pause is the timing of if funding is available, that efficiency assessment by 4/1, when we expect a first round of a budget a week later. I think that doesn't really give council ourselves to make any real determinations as to what that efficiency assessment really looks like and how we're showing best practice at that point. I think when it comes to the schools, at our meeting last Thursday for the schools, I really pushed to ensure that this conversation starts in December of this year for the budget, where we're getting some sort of a ballpark figure that they're going to need sooner, so that hopefully all of these other benchmarks will be applicable in the event an override conversation does need to happen. That's 4 months worth of conversation within a normal election cycle versus what we went through, having it be a special election, costing taxpayers additional funds that we probably could have used for an efficiency operational review. So I do see where Johnny's coming from with that we need to make sure that we're not just getting into a situation where timing doesn't allow us to put it on the normal April ballot, where we're then having a special election for it and costing taxpayer money anyway and going over a budget that we don't necessarily have.
Yeah.
So I think as long as I would probably, instead of if funding is available, I'd probably just, everyone knows I don't like using one-time funds either, but
Yeah,
I would
for sure.
probably state publicly that, yes, we should use it for this purpose and have it done by 4/1.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying there, guys. Again, these deadlines that we're giving are the, the tail end deadlines. My
Mhm.
feeling is, and based on his background of finance and budgeting, he's gonna have a lot of this in place and review way before these dates are gonna take place. These are kind of, the last tail end, potential dates to have this done by. But I get the feeling he's gonna be way ahead of the curve on many of these dates in preparation for that budget cycle. And again, he wanted to see where he could find the funding. Maybe it's a grant situation somewhere without taking one-time funds out of a stabilization account or anything like that. So I want to give him that flexibility to find that funding. And again, he, with his background, can do his own deep dive on the organizational structure himself. So again, I think he knows what the goals are. This is what we want him to do. I think we're just giving him a little, flexibility to get it done in the best way possible, not only financially, but, time frame wise to get prepared for the budget. I don't know, Ian, to hold his feet to the fire, so to speak, of some of these tighter deadlines, at least on this particular one, because again, this is his first fiscal year with us. So I think it's going to take some time to get the lay of the land and it all come together when he does do the budget process when we get there. So with that being said, so why don't we just, I guess I'll put it to a vote for the edit on this one. So instead of going for 3:31, I put it down for 6:30. Do I have a motion to make it 6:30?
So moved.
All right, and I'll second that, and then I'll go for a vote. I'll say aye on it. Sonia?
Aye.
Johnny?
No.
Okay, well, so we'll go 2-1. I'll move that forward. And then the tail end again, were you questioning, Sonia, the 4/1 date, or is that, again, I think we agreed to that at the last meeting. Do we need to change that at all? Again, it gives them the most time before the budget season to see if you needed to bring somebody in.
I just question the timing when we want the first round of the budget likely on an agenda on 4/7.
Yeah,
That doesn't give that, there's no meeting in between for us to, he would have to have it done by the end of March, that end of March meeting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'd rather look up what that end of March meeting is and have it be for the Friday before, just so that we know that we're getting the information on an agenda well before it's in conjunction with us getting a budget. I don't want it at the same time. So if we're able to get the funding for it, I want to be able to properly review that separately before we're seeing the fiscal year 2027 budget. I don't know where Johnny stands on that, but I'd rather not stack them. Because we are fellow counselors that don't like when that is how the information is received.
Yeah.
So I'm also looking at the optics of it all once we get to that point.
So you're saying you'd like to see us have a review of this by the last meeting in March?
I would say, yeah, only because that lets us have that as the benchmark where it's in and being presented well before we're seeing a fiscal year 2027 budget. So it's creating some separation where we're able to learn some things, hopefully, from whatever is done, and then we're able to take those things that we've learned and bring it into that fiscal year 2027 conversation. Hopefully, some of those things are already translating into that budget, but we're able to give some feedback and or ideas.
I'll ask Debbie who's on our call. Debbie, can you confirm the dates of the March meetings for the council?
The what meetings?
The March meetings for the council, are they the 3rd and the 17th?
2026, I haven't even gone then yet, that far yet.
No, I understand. I'm just, I just don't, I mean, based on our planned dates already in advance, do we know what those dates are for the March meeting?
Be the 2nd and the 3rd, as long as there's no holidays, and I don't believe there are.
These.
The 1st and the 3rd.
The dates, the 3rd and the 17th, are those the 2 March meetings?
Yes,
Okay, all right, so the 17th is that last meeting in March.
17th is that's St. Patrick's Day. We'll bring some luck.
no holiday.
So we want to see that Friday before that meeting? That would be
Yeah, that way,
13th,
yeah,
3/13,
or whenever Debbie needs it for the agenda.
okay.
I'm
So,
just trying to make sure that when we're asking for information, we have enough time to digest the information before we're needing to potentially use that information to make educated decisions on the budget. Just so that I'm thinking of counselors that really like to kind of dig deep and have information for a little bit before, not just have it plopped on their lap at the meeting.
so we're saying in the statement then, the funding is available, procure independent consultant and conduct operational efficiency assessment for FY26 and report the results to the town council by the 4/1. So we're asking for him to report it to us
So would it be reporting by that meeting?
by by 4/1 would be the April 7th meeting. So we would probably want to do
It would be the
the 17th. So report by 3/17.
Yeah,
Change that to 3/17.
because if not, we would be needing a special meeting on the 31st
Right. Yeah. We
to
don't
adhere
want
to
that.
that.
What do you think about that, Johnny? Is that okay for you?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. I'll put that in as 3/17 town council meeting. All right. And again, that's potentially if, an independent consultant is procured. Okay. All right. So we'll put that edit in there. So those are the two, those are just the major changes that was done since the last meeting. Everything was basically as we discussed with all the dates and timeframes. Is there anything else that either one of you have after reviewing what I sent, guys? Johnny, you have anything else listed there?
One question for you would know better than I. And I'm trying to see where it's kind of mandated, but we have it somewhere that requires the town manager to provide us with a 5-year plan. We don't have one that I've seen updated recently. So do we need to explicitly ask for that, or is that something that is just going to be provided at some point this year?
It's a good question. Let me see, 5-year plan. Potentially something that's, again, updated. I know Michael obviously had one. Didn't really have anything, in that direction with Blythe. Wasn't really her position or job to do at the time. So, for Justin, I'll dive into that and potentially look to add that or see what his plan is on working on that, and then we can potentially add that in as a side goal, an update on a 5-year plan, maybe by the end of the fiscal year. Would that be
Yeah,
something?
unless it's redundant and it's required in his contract. I saw that it was required somewhere, so I don't want to put redundancies in here if he's already going to be doing it. That was
So if
just more of
that's
a
in his,
question.
yeah, if that's in his contract, I don't have that in front of me, but if you recall that being in his contract, then right, I would agree that's, that's written in his contract, so that should be taken care of. But I'll confirm that, with him in my next conversation.
Okay.
All right. For fiscal year. Anything else that you saw that, you wanted to update, Johnny, or anything?
No, everything else looks good.
Okay, Sonia, anything for you?
No, everything looks good, and as far as that 5-year plan goes, that could always be something that we address in next year's goal too, based on any type of operational review. That might give us a good jumping off point for that 5-year plan, because now we're in a budget that I think we all know is going to be on the tighter side.
Yeah.
So we'll have a better outlook on what the 5 years would look like at that point.
Yeah.
So it might give him a little bit better knowledge base
Yeah,
for
well,
that.
1 year under his belt
Yeah.
anyway to kind
Yeah.
of take a look at that. Okay, again, I'll have the conversation with him too, and I'll recheck his contract on that. And the only other thing I was going to potentially suggest that we do now that we have these goals established is making this almost like a checkoff list that we attach to a review sheet that we would do in our review process of him. We have the standard form that we've used for the town manager in the past, and we're continuing that same form. It's a scale of 1 to 5 and a number of different topics. But to specifically address these goals, there's nothing really obviously written into that. So I would suggest that we just kind of create a bullet checkoff sheet to see if the councils feel that these particular goals have been done, and we'll attach that to the review sheet going forward. And that way there, it's kind of also reviewed by all the councilors. So I'll make that notation when we go to the meeting, that it will be attached to a review sheet once we get to that point in time, to see if councilors feel that the goals are being met.
Okay.
I guess then we'll just take an overall motion to approve these goals as updated as of today to present to the town council at the next meeting. So do I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Sonia, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Johnny. And all in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, so motion carries. So I will submit these into Debbie as amended, and that'll be on our agenda for September that the council will look at and get approved, and we'll put this to bed. And then again, there's timeframe of looking into this halfway through, I believe, the fiscal year. So if we need to meet as a committee again, I don't know if strategic planning does it or review committee does it, but one of those committees will look at his progress halfway through. But with that, I do not have anything else further to discuss on that. So Debbie, I'll ask if there's anyone else for public comment.
Nope, no one got on.
No one's on for public comment. So I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
All right, Johnny, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, we are adjourned. Thank you guys for coming this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.